see you again. I guess that's really what I wanted to say. And hi, Cheryl. Hey. Um, I guess it's more of a charge. I think you are just even in your speaking, the words that you use are so careful. I actually was trying to make a poem as you were saying like things you said, like strives to predict solar eclipse.
I like the one that just like a child.
Appreciate that. All right, well, I'll go ahead and, ready? All right, so it's 5:05 and we now have a quorum, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to the December meeting of the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center Board of Trustees. I'll go ahead now and ask that anybody on Zoom, if they would go ahead and keep your lines muted unless you're speaking. I'll call upon Steve, our secretary, to do the roll call.
All right, Steve Arnes present, Delegate Jason Ballard, Esther Balling,
Present.
Tim Chanel.
Here. Oh, Esther's
Is
online.
Esther's online? Okay. Senator Travis Hackworth, Brian Hemphill, Joe Kaiser,
Present.
Adam Hutchinson,
Here.
Hannah Ingram.
Here.
Scott Kemp. Here. Melissa Lubin,
Here.
Lenny Gale Mitchum, Delegate Will Moorfield, David Olive, Delegate Israel O'Quinn.
Here.
Susan Parrish, Keith Perigin, Senator Todd Fillion,
I'm here.
Delegate Sam Rasool, Karen Shelton, Susan Short,
Here.
Donna Stanley,
Here.
Sophie Chafin Vance.
Here.
Matt Frederick.
Here.
And is Ramona Taylor online?
Yep, I'm here. How is everyone?
I feel safe now. We have our quorum.
All right, we have a quorum. You should have received the minutes in your board meeting packet. Is there a motion to approve the August 25th, 2022 minutes?
Senator, I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. I'm gonna turn it over to our executive director, David Matlock, to give us the executive director report. David, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. And I received a text from Susan and Lindy Gill both. There's illnesses in their family and last minute couldn't be here today. So again, welcome to the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. As I like to say, a great place, doing great things because of great people. That's
right.
true. And I want to, first of all, let's talk about financials for a second. Underneath the tab that says financial report, I'll just report to you that we are on budget. Things are going extremely well. You'll notice on the right-hand column, you have your approved and your actual budgets. Our general fund budget was right at $4 million, and that includes $1.5 million for the IT apprenticeship program, which is restricted. And then when we throw in our non-general revenue that we project and our carry forward, that brings a total budget of $6.5 million. I will point out that already this year, we're having a great year in non-general fund. You'll see at the bottom, we had budgeted $690,000. We've already received $532,000. So we're doing well there. If you flip your page over on the back side, you'll see personnel services. After through December, we are at $913,000, which is, if we project that out, we're going to come in under our budget of $2.3 million in personnel. All your other than personnel expenses are on the next page. You'll see that contractual services, supplies and equipment, program support. Our total other than personnel services so far year to date, we spent $854,000 for a total of with personnel of $1.7 million. So, Mr. Chairman, board members, we are extremely efficient, extremely effective, and we are well within the budget guidelines, budget that you approved. And I think that we'll have another year where revenue will exceed projections, expenses will be lower than we projected, and we'll have another profitable year here, at least in terms of the financings. So before I move on, is there any questions about the finance report, about that piece of it?
Any questions on the finance report?
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Matlock, on the apprenticeship program.
Yes.
This may be included somewhere else in your report on the performance project, but I see it on the financials.
The awarded?
The awarded versus expended piece?
Sure.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously, we're still in infancy. We've only had apprentices now. We got our first apprentice about this time last year. So I think we're up to maybe 12 over a 12-month period. So when we make a commitment, so that $1.5 million, even though it's for this year, the way it was written in the code, that money is a commitment for more than 1 year. It is an 18-month commitment. So at most, we would spend $600,000 in a year. Our current burn rate, we're probably not going to get there. I know last meeting, we talked a lot about the apprenticeship program. We showed you some of our social media ads and some of the research we're doing. We're working hard right now to identify. We have with us today as a guest, former Secretary of Labor, Megan Healy, who helped give birth to this program. And upon her departure, there was a small gap there for a little while. We're still trying to identify the IT businesses that qualify in this region for that. In fact, you'll hear a little bit more about him in a minute, but retired Colonel James Blevins is now working for us, and that's one of his initiatives, and he's been working real hard to try to identify. But the nice thing about that program, Dr. Hutchison, is when that was written and put into code, Adam, help me with my wordage, when the General Assembly awards that money, it is a non-reverting allotment. There's been a line item in the state treasury, so that money will be put there until we spend it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. We're working hard to find those apprentices.
Any other questions?
Okay, if not, let me continue with just a couple updates about the center itself. And I want to start off by just talking a little bit about our mission, because we were created in 1991 by the General Assembly to do basically this, to strengthen the economy of Southwest Virginia. And I want you to notice it's through education and training of current and future workforce. So a lot of times people will say, well, David, you're a higher education center. It's just Radford and UVA-Wise and VCU. Well, there's a lot of it. But our mission is through training of the current and the future workforce. And that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. I'll talk about that today because in the recent news, many of you followed the 3-part series on the New College Institute on Cardinal News. You may have read about them in the Richmond Times. So I just want to take a second, not to throw my peers under the bus, but just so you clearly understand why we're different, okay? And the first point I want to hit on is simply this. For 32 years, I have pulled out of the same driveway and turned right at that stoplight and come onto this campus. 25 of those years on top of the hill as a counselor, dean of students, and vice president. And 7 years, getting ready to enter year 8, at the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. So what's one big difference between the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center and the other ones? I live here. I'll die here. This is who I am. There's no one else that's been on this campus other than Dave Smith longer than me, okay? Maybe Voda, okay? But I've been here a long time. And so that's one thing that's brought out in those articles. So I've been here for 32 years. The next thing is that we're very efficient, very effective. We have a positive cash flow every year, a very good positive cash flow every year, to the point that when the Secretary of Education, when the new governor took office this year, Senator Pillion, Doug O'Quinn, I was asked for what I needed in the budget. And I replied, and a few weeks later, I got a call from the Secretary of Education. She said, David, did you miss the email? You're the only state agency that didn't ask for something. I said, that's because we're efficient and effective. I don't need anything this year. And so that's another reason why we're different. Now, okay, to the senator and the delegates, we always need stuff, but not this year. Okay? I will come back to the trough. Okay, trust me, I will be there because there are needs. But we have been so good for so long, and we've got so many great things happening, that this was a year that I could just say, you know what, let's just focus on what we've been given. Now I just got to stop right here and say this. It's nothing about me. It's about these people. We are a great place doing great things, and it's because of great people. And so I'll just continue and say that's another reason why we're different than the New College Institute. All right, we'll move on. So another reason why we're different is our parking lot's always full. If you were here today before 4 o'clock, that's what you would have seen. I think when Susan pulled up, Susan, you had to park all the way at the end. Susan replied to me, she said, David, I love this full parking lot. I said, well, it's every day, Susan. So today, we had over 400 members of a local industry, Comfort Systems USA, doing training here. Some of it was in the parking lot, a lot of it was in our building, a lot of it was in our grand hall, but that's a typical day. We do the same kind of thing for AEP and other industries in our area. So I just want to say that if you go to some of these other places and you're saying, well, I've read this article, what's the difference? Right there's the difference. Our parking lot's always full. Okay, so what else makes us different? We have great post-secondary partners. Now, I'm going to come back to that in just a second. But if you were here at the meeting in the summer, you heard all about the Appalachian College of Pharmacy. They now have an MOU with us, and it is the only pharmacy school in the state and one of the few in the nation where you can go from an associate's degree at Adams Place or the community college system and become a doctor of pharmacy. And beginning next year, I think Susan explained to y'all, which Mayhew, the dean, when she was here in the summer, that beginning next year, a majority of their second-year students will be here in the building, or at least be offered the opportunity, and it will continue to grow. And in a few minutes, I'm going to give you some breaking news that just happened a few minutes ago, but we'll save that for the end. So, besides our post-secondary partners, I just real quickly want to tell you what we do for the workforce. And I'll start with A. Linwood Hope and Governor School. They're a partner of ours. They serve 17 school districts, 4 community colleges, 36 high schools, 378 students. We support them. We work with them intensely. In fact, this past year, they awarded 3,444 college credits. Okay, most of which, and their college credits awarded based on the zip code of their residents. Now, here's a picture. Let's see, I thought I had another picture in there. Okay, yeah. So there they are. I'm sorry, it was the same picture. So how do we support them? Here's a picture of their students. They do all their lab work here. It might be hard for you to see here, but those are sheep brains. And so a few weeks earlier than that, we had pig fetus. So they do all their anatomy, physiology, all their work is done here. We recently opened up a new virtual cadaver lab. We trained 88 students, went through the cadaver lab last week for the governor's school. So we do a lot to support them. A little bit later, you're going to hear from Ms. Shannon Mutter, who is over the Mount Rogers Adult Education. They're also one of our partners. When I arrived here, one of the first things I tried to do was consolidate some of the resources in our region. And so in 2017, we signed an MOU to bring Mount Rogers here. I'm going to steal any of Shannon's thunder. She's going to give you a presentation in just a second. But also, too, I brought in Goodwill. And a lot of when I went out to get Goodwill, some people said to me, David, are we going to give away clothes here? What are we doing? Goodwill is one of the oldest workforce providers in the nation. They've been doing it a long time. And they currently serve 36 students, 10 Southwest Virginia counties. They're capable to serve up to 50 students in their grant, but because of COVID, they're just now getting back to full steam. They target 55 and older unemployed, and their mission, again, is to create jobs. You know, in Washington County, every year, $76 million worth of ag products are sold. And agriculture has a $400 million effect on our economy, economic impact on our economy. And it's pretty consistent all across the Southwest Virginia region. Another one of our partners, with a lot of training that takes place, Hannah can speak highly of this. She does a lot with them, is the Virginia Cooperative Extension. And you can see that over the last 10 months, Danny estimates that they serve 7,000 citizens, mostly farmers. But the ones that weren't farmers was the young farmers, the young student through 4-H, because they have 52 extension agents and 21 county agents that they operate out of here. Since July 1, we have served 2,412 students. We've introduced elementary kids to coding. Keith, many of them have been in your school district. I think, Son, you were just down in his school district just the other day, and in his neck of the woods with St. Anne's and Sullins as well. But again, that's the future workforce. Real quickly, the K-5 STEM Academy, we just recently had their graduation. We had 62 graduates this fall. Our Lego robotics competition was held here. We had over 700 people in attendance. We had Lego robotics teams, 23 of them from all across the region. We had 4 teams advance to the region. College older adults, you've heard me talk about that before. We're back open for business now that COVID's over with. Conference services, there's Miss Hannah. Hannah, you want to wave at everybody? Hannah and her team's been working really hard. In fact, you'll notice that since, this is for 5 months, it's in your report, but from July 1 to December 1st, 5 months, we've had 1,529 different bookings for 114 different organizations. And that'll project out, we'll probably end up going over $250,000 in revenue. Right now, it looks like we've had, 26,000 estimated attendees with over 55,000, I think, for the whole year is what we're projecting. So that's really good. Those are almost right even with our pre-COVID numbers. And that's, Scott, what that is, that's a good revenue source. One of the things that makes us a little different than some of the other higher education centers is the fact that when the General Assembly funds us with our general funds, we only have enough money to operate until about February, sometime in February, maybe early March. So for us to continue to operate through March, April, May, and June, we've got to generate that revenue, and we do so. And this is one way we do it. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things you may have read in that article. And let's go back to pre-COVID. I hope you can read this. If not, so if we went back to the fall of 2019, those are all other than post-secondary partners. And these are our post-secondary partners in the reports that we had in the fall of 19. ETSU had in their Bachelor's of Social Work 55 students enrolled that semester. In their Master's of Social Work, they had 37 students. And these aren't online. These are students in this building, okay? VCU had in their Bachelor's of Science and Clinical Lab Science 7 students, and then their Doctor of Nurse Anesthesia, 26 students. Radford had just started a new counseling program before COVID hit. At that time, there were 21 students. I think you heard from some of them at the last meeting. 17, 19, 18 graduates. Is that 21, Amanda? 18. And we've started a second cohort now. That particular semester, Radford had done 127 students in professional development. In the fall of 19, King had 69 students enrolled in their master's degree in family nurse practitioners. That's 3 different cohorts. And then their RN to BSN program that semester, 12 students. Their BSW, 26 students. ODU's always been totally online. And that particular semester, the report that they submitted, they had 306 students online. They were counseling at that time. And then through the Cyber Academy, they had 11 students enrolled, and those students were here. UVA-wise that semester did 256 students in professional development. And Virginia Tech, Susan, I don't know what Penny was eating and drinking back then, but she served 8,743 students. There was most of those were teachers throughout the region and a lot of conferences, but they were extremely busy. So that's what our post-secondary partners were doing in the building when COVID hit. We've not quite recovered from that. Let's talk about this fall. This fall, VCU is still here. Their clinical lab science, we have 2 cohorts, 11 students. Their nurse anesthesia program, we have 3 cohorts. We have 26 students. There's 6 getting ready to graduate next week. They graduate December, is that correct? This week. They graduate this week. And that was a small class. Normally I would say we have 30 because we put 10 in each cohort. It's a 3-year program. So we have 10 second year and 10 first year. And the students that'll be starting in January, which will be graduates in 25, there's 10 in that one. So technically, I guess we would have, take 6 away and add 10, we would have 30. Currently, Radford in their second go around with the counseling, they have 7 students. Their MS in strategic communication, 2. And then this semester, Radford has done in professional development 250 students. This semester in the Master's of Science and Family Nurse Practitioner, again, 3 different cohorts. King has 52 students. RN to BSN, 8 students. And let me talk about ODU for a second. Angela's here. ODU has a different setup than they did years ago. Currently, Connie, who's tasked, his office is downstairs, she's currently counseling and advising about 400 students. But because she used to her and Angela just used to do students from our region. They would graduate there from New Adam, and they would come down and say, I want to be a school teacher, and they would be their point of contact here on site, and it would just be one of our folks. Now ODU does it by program of study. And so Connie right now is serving students. Those 400 are all over the world because she does allied health students, correct, Angela? She's primarily doing nursing and other allied health professions. UVA-wise this semester in professional development did 93 students. There's a little bit more about what they're doing in the packet. So what are some challenges and opportunities? Well, our window project, you've heard me talk about that. That's going to be about $1 million project now. The glass has been ordered. It should be delivered, could be delivered tomorrow. It's already been shipped. So we hope to get that started. I was kind of hoping we'd be halfway through it by now, but we're not. Our lab school proposal, Dr. Hutchinson, Dr. Keith Parrington, and myself have been working with Emory Henry College and UVA-wise and others on the lab school proposal. So that's really more of an opportunity than it is a challenge. Our IT apprenticeship program, kind of an opportunity challenge combination, because the challenge is when the legislation, and Sophie, just let me stop. I think I said this before. That program is because your father helped write that legislation, and he sponsored that through the Senate. So that really should be called the Ben Chafin Apprenticeship Program. It's really, we probably need to take care of that, Senator. Okay. So we've got some things to work out there. So other opportunities, as you know, the Appalachian College of Pharmacy, their office is right down the hall. They're starting to have faculty meetings here. They're having a faculty retreat here next week. New news, Emory Henry College. Today, after 2 years of negotiation, I can boldly tell you that becoming January 1, Emory Henry is now a full partner. And there's things that come with that. So what an opportunity that will be. VCOM, their office is right down the hall too. They're sharing an office right now with Appalachian College of Pharmacy. You'll be hearing more about their doctorate program in public health. That's right around the corner. So a challenge though is growing post-secondary programs. Obviously we're doing a lot. We're doing an awful lot. Parking lot's full. We're doing a lot of things, but we can do more in this area. And that's where you help. I mean, we're here to support you and your institution. And so I know that Adam is very supportive of making sure that students can go from high school to his community college to here and never have to leave home. Go far, stay here and go far, something like that. Right, Adam? Yeah. The virtual cadaver lab is an opportunity. There's a picture right there. Those machines cost about $100,000 a piece. I authored a grant back in the summer. We got those funded, and they're up and operational. As I said, about 80 students receiving college credit through the Linwood Houghton Governor School came through here this past week. We're in the process of hopefully trying to finally negotiate the final steps of a grant writer. There's a lot of things we need to be doing, and I need some support there, and that's what we're going to be doing. And our foundation is going to pay half of the salary. They've committed to pay half the salary and benefits of that. So all that said, Senator Pillion, Delegate O'Quinn, we need to start working on some capital funding for the next construction project because we're running out of space. Okay. All right. So remember, I didn't ask for anything this year. Okay. Remember, I didn't ask for anything this year, Senator Pillion, Delegate O'Quinn, but I will be working with you because we've outgrown our space. We just recently added 2 new floors to the back. We're out of space again. And it's going to continue to get worse. So while I didn't ask for anything this year, I'm going to be at the table come January 1. There is a space issue occurring here at the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. Great place, doing great things because of great people. So before we transition, what questions do you have? Adam, do you have any questions for me?
I do. I was doing quick math while you were running through your slide on head count. Here's what I saw, but I didn't get to all the slides.
Let me go back.
Would you?
Yeah. You want this one?
Either is, I did the math on both, but I didn't look at specific programs. For 2019, there's your list of participation, and I was just counting degree-seeking students on site. So that's not a shot at professional development.
Right.
It's just specifically about potential degrees conferred. Math, just doing the quick math, 264 was the number I came up with. Okay. For 2022 is 106, and so, and of those, so if you, yeah, there you go. Of those 206 students that are on-site pursuing degrees, and all of my bias isn't hidden here. Of the programs that you have on the list, only 2 of them are straight crosswalk. Again, excluding Old Dominion because they're online. Only 2 of them link directly to associate's degrees. So, not hiding my bias, my advocacy is for how do we grow programs that move students from the community college and its systems.
Right. I totally agree. And in fact, Joe, we've had multiple discussions with your chancellor, Donnie Henry. In fact, we have, Adam and I together, if we go back years ago, before distance ed and changes in delivery systems, UVY has always offered 5 undergraduate degree programs here. And they stopped doing that somewhere around 2009, 2010. So for 12 years, they've not done that. Now, I do know, here's some good news. With Emory Henry, we're going to get more of that. But here's the encouraging news. You've been advertising a position. You've been advertising a position. I believe they're getting ready to fill it come January 1 for a program coordinator to be housed here to answer some of your questions. And so I would like to say that Donna Henry has responded. And Lou and the folks up at Emory Henry have responded because I've voiced that and made that known. And so, while we are doing a lot of things, I would like to see us do more in that area. But even though we're called the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center, if we look in the Code of Virginia, I'm not a higher education system, a higher education institution. You are. Okay, I'm here to facilitate your growth, to help you serve the community, whatever that takes. And so, man, I forgot you're the Emory Henry. Golly, did you know that today they were yeah, yeah. So thank you, Matt. Sorry about that. Matt's representing the president. He's out of the country. He's in France. Your president? He didn't tell you.
I'm not sure, yeah, honestly, I doesn't advertise that.
Donna's in Charleston. Yeah, and Donna's at the B of E.
Yeah, Donna's there. They had the UVA had their board meeting today, and so she couldn't be at two places at the same time. But yeah, that's and Adam. I look forward to working with you because when you speak with what do you got? 2,100 students online and on campus,
Or about 2,500.
2,500 students. So when you speak with $2,500, you're like E.F. Hutton. People want to stop and listen. All right. I can also say that obviously today we have former Secretary of Labor is here with us today, Megan, because she's got the ears of the president of George Mason. And George Mason has an interest in doing something here at the Southwest Virginia Higher Education Center. So we're open for business. And I look forward to you and I working together to work with these institutions to make more things happen. You know my heart where it's at. I worked up there for 25 years. Any other questions for me?
Any other questions for Mr. Matlock on his center update? We're hearing none. The next thing, David, I think that you want to talk about is the naming.
Oh, yes, I
naming
forgot about
policy.
it. In your packet, you're going to see a naming policy. This was handed out at the June meeting, which was postponed to August because of legislative demands. But I didn't get any feedback either way. This has been reviewed by Ramona and the folks at the Attorney General's office. We technically don't have a naming policy here. I talked a little bit about it at the August meeting, and we have things named. Some were voted on, most were not, okay? And so we need to go back and fix some things and have a policy to take care of that. And so obviously as a board, you can adapt, amend, adjust policy moving forward, but this is our first stab at an introductory naming policy. And so what I'm here today to do is to seek approval, a motion, and Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd love to get a motion to get this adopted today, to get something in on paper so that we can move forward.
So in your packet, you're going to find a copy of that draft that Dave was holding up. Everybody's found that. Is there any questions or comments about this draft policy or proposed policy for naming? Hearing none, I would now entertain a motion to approve the naming policy. Is there a motion? So moved. All right, have a motion, second. Second. Have a motion and a second to approve the naming policy as proposed. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? All right. So the next item on, thank you, David, for that presentation. And we always look forward to hearing from you. And you only said 3 times today your motto. I counted that. Next time, maybe you can work on that. And you still have opportunity before the meeting adjourns today to say that. So next, we look forward to hearing from the Mount Rogers Regional Adult Education Program. And I think Shannon is here to give us a presentation.
Shannon's here, and that's why this is one of the first new partners I went after when I arrived on at the center. So Shannon.
Welcome, Shannon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about our program today and tell you about the wonderful things that's going on in our program and our relationship with our partners. So I appreciate that.
You're there, right?
All right, so I thought I would start out by talking about who we are, give you an idea of where we're located. So we're Region 3. And we're the counties of Bland, Carroll, Grayson, Smith, Washington, and Wyeth, and the cities of Bristol and Galax. So we have one of the largest adult ed regions in the state. And this is just an official definition of Title II, who we serve. An eligible individual, we can serve 16 and 17-year-olds if the high schools release them, but mostly we have 18 and older. They cannot be enrolled in a high school program to be in our program. They can have basic skills deficits and do not have a secondary school diploma. And they can always be an English language learner. That's who we serve. So while we're talking about that, more students are graduating on time from high school. So we've held pretty steady and we've increased our percent a little bit since 2018. Thought that was important to mention as I was talking about our program, because a lot of people think about adult ed, they automatically think about high school equivalency or GED. So we're a little bit more than that. And hopefully we are going forward and getting our folks ready to get jobs. So we still focus on GED, reading, math, science, and social studies. We also have an NEDP program. That's the National External Diploma Program. It's more for individuals who are not good test takers. So it's more of a hands-on approach to getting their high school equivalency. We just had a recent graduate last month. So. But we are really going more for workforce readiness. There's lots of jobs out there. So we're trying to get our folks ready to go to work. So one of the ways we do that, some of the ways we do that is through our IET program, or Integrated Education and Training Programs. Our Career Readiness Certificate, that's the Work Keys program. We help with soft skills, budgeting, work essentials. And we also help with literacy, just with basic reading and math. Sometimes folks just come in and need to get a little extra help there. And then we do a community outreach where we teach basic computer literacy. So sometimes we get some older individuals in who just need some extra help using their cell phone, or checking their email, things like that. And then ESL. So this is how we operate. Our regional office is here at the higher ed. We have about 350 annual student enrollment. That's going up each year since COVID. We're trying to get that number up like everyone else right now. We have 20 adult ed classes across our localities. All of our classes offer in-person and online. We've been doing that since the shutdown with COVID. We decided just to go ahead and keep doing the online, and offering both of those has really helped our enrollment. We have 2 ESL classes. We just recently obtained a grant that allowed us to open one here at the Higher Ed Center. So we're excited about that. It's a really good location to have it because we already had one on the other end of our region in Galax. So it's been very beneficial to have that one here. We have 3 corrections classes at the Abingdon Regional Jail. They just recently opened back up, so we're excited about getting back in there. We have 1 class at Bristol Lifestyle Recovery. That's a re-entry program in Bristol. And then we have 2 integrated education and training classes with Virginia Highlands. We have 28 instructors. All of our instructors have a minimum of a bachelor's degree, and a lot of them are retired and current K-12 instructors. So I want to talk a little bit about our partners. Here at the Higher Ed, we have our regional office, and we have classroom space. I've included a couple pictures here. Well, having our regional office here allows us to schedule our professional development here, which makes it very convenient, and also gives us an opportunity to participate in any professional development that's going on here at the Higher Ed. For instance, I was able to participate in Radford's grant writing that they have. We have lots of storage space that we really needed, because we have 8 localities that we're sending computers out to, printers, paper, anything like that. So we have ample space here to be able to do that. We have high-speed internet, which is great. for our curriculum, because a lot of our curriculum is online. And we get a lot of advertising here, so we have IT support here, so thank you, Nikki. And we have a very supportive staff here. They include us in everything. It's really done a lot for the morale of our staff in our office, you know, to be able to feel included here like it's a family. So we appreciate that. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about the program we have with Virginia Highlands. It's really been beneficial to us to be here at the higher ed, because I don't think that we would have been able to form the relationship that we have with Virginia Highlands for these two IET programs, diesel mechanics and precision machinists. Those are certificate programs, and we provide, what happens is they enter our program and we help them with their foundational skills and their workforce readiness skills, like their digital literacy and their work keys accounts and things like that. And when that, once they, and their basic skills like math and reading, once they complete our part of the program, and then they complete the part of the program that diesel mechanics and precision machinists require, we pay for their tools. So they actually finish the certificate program, get the tools, and they're ready to go to work. So we are the only adult education program in Virginia that offers this program over the past 2 years. So we're pretty proud of that. Thanks, Hannah. And Harbor Freight has been great to partner with us and get the tools ordered in the toolboxes. So I felt like I needed to mention them. Then we've had, just since July 1st, I wanted to talk a little bit about our celebrations. We've had 30 students complete at least part of their GED just since July 1st. 8 students have earned their GED since July 1st, and 1 student has earned an NEDP. I know those numbers don't sound anything like what David was talking about earlier, but we're very proud of them. So, and I think that a program is successful if they're helping their community and helping the people in their community. And I feel like we are, and I feel like a big reason that we are is because where we're at here at the Higher Ed Center. So I just appreciate the support we get here, and hope to continue it. Anybody have any questions? I did want to mention that a handout at the table of all the courses that we offer. I know I kind of flew through that, so you can just take a minute to look at that when you get a minute.
Any questions for Shannon or comments? And thank you for that presentation. And to never think that those numbers aren't impressive to all of us. You're doing great things for our community.
Thank you. And I think that Kathy said she was going to email the course offerings page to those that are on Zoom. So,
Right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And next up, we have Goodwill Industries.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
They're unable to be with us this evening.
Okay.
And so I'll just reschedule them, but with your permission,
Absolutely.
keep moving.
All right, Adam, you want to give us an HR report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board, staff, partners, and guests. I'm Adam Talbert, and a lot of what I handle in my area has to deal with the great people part of David's tagline. So in your package, you'll find a personnel activity report, which will become a recurring report as changes we've had since August 25th in staff. Of course, earlier in the new hires, David alluded to Colonel James Blevins. So James joined us full-time. He was part-time in our testing center, but he is our program administrator and fiscal specialist and oversees the Rural Information Technology Apprenticeship Program. So James, if you'd like to give like a short little introduction to yourself.
Thank you, Adam. Well, I'm James Blevins. I was born and raised in Damascus, attended Holston, graduated, went to Virginia Highlands, and then transferred to ETSU, received a bachelor's of science in microbiology and a concentration in chemistry. Never used it. Joined the Army, spent 25 years with the Army. Retired in August of 2011, and I think I went insane and bought a restaurant. I ran that, or it ran me for 7 years in the country in Damascus. I sold that and retired. Well, that lasted about 12 months. My wife said, you need to find something to do. So I hit David up for a part-time job and started here. I wanted to be more of a contributor. So the position came open for the director of the Rural IT Apprenticeship Program. I threw my hat in the ring for that, and luckily was hired for that. And also serve as the vice president of finance for the foundation. So I look forward to working with you. We've got a lot of work to do on the Rural IT Apprenticeship Program, as David said. Right now, we're identifying the companies in the area and reaching out to them. So more to follow on that.
Mr. Chairman, James is a little humble sometimes, but as a colonel, he's two tours in Iraq. And he's also, he's been awarded a lot of combat stuff. So I can't remember all that, but we're lucky to have him.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your service, and thank you for applying here, and welcome aboard. Glad to have you.
So we're glad to have James, and like I said, he's doing a lot with the apprenticeship program, so that's a key contact. Of course, we hired a couple new folks in our testing center. We have a professional testing center. So Tina Connor and Cindy Wood there, we've given about 400 professional tests since July 1. That thanks so much as Praxis exams and Pearson VUE exams. That's a great resource we have here. Also, some of the departures and changes. The last meeting, you heard from Alicia Young, who retired after a little over 15 years of state service. We moved James up to where you just heard that position, had a departure in facilities management. Also, we have to note with sadness the loss of Judy Vermillion, who worked here center for 4 years in our information desk. And before that, if I got my dates right, she worked at Virginia Highlands for 1992 to 2015. So she spent a lot of time on this campus, and we'll definitely miss her. So that's the personnel activity report. We have, as of this is prepared, 21 salary positions filled and 18 wage hourly positions filled here. So unless there's any questions or concerns on that, I'll move to the second part of my report, which is this is everyone's favorite time of the year getting ready to happen. If you're required to file statements of economic interest and conflict of interest statements, those are coming up to you soon on February 1st of next year, which will be the January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2022 reporting period. The citizen members of this board will be hearing from Kathy Heidel about that. And if you're with a state agency, it requires you to file one. You'll be hearing from someone at your state agency about that. So that's all I've got to report, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
You got any questions for Adam?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out, if you look at this personnel activity report, at the bottom, you're going to see field positions, 21 salary and 18 wage hourly. We're approved by the Commonwealth for, is it 32 FTE? 33 FTE. So another reason why we're efficient and effective, the Commonwealth has approved us for 33 full-time positions, and we are doing all that we're doing with 21. Again, great people doing great things. That makes us a great place. So, not a secret.
Does it count if he changes up the sequence?
Still counts. Thank you, Adam and David. So for the next item on our agenda is the remote meeting policy. And for the remote meeting policy, I'd like to ask our good friend Ramona Taylor from our legal counsel with the AG's office to walk us through that policy. And if you recall, she spoke very briefly about it at their last meeting, and a final draft copy is in your board packets today. So Ramona, I'll kick it to you. Thank you for being here, as always.
I don't have a catchphrase like David. I need to come up with one. I used to say fun with FOIA all the time because, you know, when we think about meeting issues, it really is a FOIA issue. And so, but fun with FOIA didn't go over really well with a lot of other folks because no one ever sees it as fun.
Not so much.
But I'll just give you some background. I'll make it sound FOIA-ish for like 5 seconds. No, but I mean, think about when we talk about our meeting policies and practices, it really is a component of FOIA because there is an affirmative duty by board members to attend board meetings. But you know, you are citizen members who have this public function, but you also have lives. So it makes it difficult to be at every meeting. And so when I think I brought it up at our August meeting, that I think people finally got it that during COVID, and now we have monkeypox, and whoever knows, we've got RSV, we have all these things that look around and make us scared to meet and hold hands and have kumbaya moments. And so what has happened is that there are these changes. FOIA has had more changes in the time I've been a government lawyer in the past 2 years than ever. And so in September, FOIA law changed as it related to board meetings. And one of the biggest changes was, which is incorporated in this policy, but I'm going to go through some of the component changes that you are familiar with when it comes to electronic participation. You notice some of us are here on the video and we can chat, and sometimes we look like the Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares, but that component of holding meetings with someone virtually participating is really new to the Commonwealth, or newly accepted by the Commonwealth, and we call that category thing called electronic participation, and that requires your quorum, that requires a policy to be in place, and that section of the law only changed slightly. There was, they've added an additional option for you to participate electronically. Used to be, if you're sick or you have a permanent disability, you can't be there. It used to give us a personal reason, and then they incorporated that new option if you care for someone who is sick. And so now what they've done is they've added, I think I marked it, if you live more than 60 miles from the location of the meeting, you at least half or 50% of the times that your board is holding meetings, you can offer that as a reason for you not to physically be present and to participate electronically. So that was the good part of that. Now, the part that I think is like the gift that Jess will keep giving, or the Christmas gift for the year, is the all virtual meeting, where it gives every board member the opportunity, at least 50% of your board meetings, well, up to 2 times a year, most meet 4 times a year, to participate fully electronically without the need of the physical quorum. And so with that, a lot of people thought, oh, wait a minute, can I do it now? No, you can't do it till we approve this policy. Then you can do it next time. But it also gives you the opportunity to have these all virtual meetings for every component part of your board. So your executive committee can have all virtual meetings, and any other subcommittee or work group that you create can do the same, as long as these meetings are not held consecutively. So say we have a meeting, say we were to have a virtual meeting, all virtual meeting today. That means your next meeting couldn't be all virtual, but your next executive committee meeting could be all virtual. And so that's one of the component parts of, that's one of those major changes, which I think is the fun part. And I always joke with this, but I don't have Emmett on this board. Do I? Is Emmett in there? No. Usually I have so many boards with Emmett that I usually use him as an example because he's never paying attention to what I'm saying during the board meeting anyway. But so what happens is, in this virtual component, one of the biggest caveats is that y'all can't collect in a room together to have the virtual. You do participate in the all virtual meeting, meaning you can only have 2 board members hanging out in a room, because if you have more than 3, you know, you get the buzzer of that's an illegal meeting unless you've noticed it in a certain way. So 2 of you can hang out in the all virtual square, but not 3 of you. So I used to say Ken Plum and I can hang out, but Emmett has to stay outside. And so that's how that works. And then there is, I wanted to distinguish what happens in this all virtual setting that's different from your emergency meeting setting. And that's also in your policy. An emergency meeting is where there is a snowstorm that shuts down Abingdon, which I don't think ever happens, does it, David?
Occasionally.
I can't even imagine it. Where I come from, threat of sleet would shut down the city. So say for instance, there is a declared state of emergency, either by the governor or your locality. You can have an electronic meeting, which means it looks like an all virtual meeting, but it's called because of the state of emergency. That doesn't count against your number for your all virtual meeting. And so keep that in mind. It doesn't always have to governor only. It could be locality, or it could be that region calls for a state of emergency. Then if your outside members cannot get to that location, usually you initiate that or you activate that clause and you have your meeting. And why would you have an emergency meeting? Say, for instance, you have a state of emergency and power goes down, the building is destroyed, and you have to take action. You have to do something that David can't handle without your consent. That's why you have that emergency meeting, for that limited purpose of handling or taking care of that urgent issue that your agency has to deal with. But that policy, I think those are all the component parts of the policy that you need to know about. And it doesn't change your notice components other than saying if we're going to do an all virtual meeting, if we decide to change, we just have to give public notice of that change. It doesn't change how you make materials available to the public, because you typically make them available virtually as well as physically. The only thing is that you get to talk to one another over the computer. So, when that one board member starts coughing and looking like something's going on, you don't have to panic and want to spray them with Lysol. So, which my parents would do. Because many disinfected mists in my day. So with that being said, the only thing the board has to do at this point is, I think you've already reviewed it. If you had questions, let me know. And then you can act upon approving the policy, so you can start having the benefit of having the all virtual meetings or the additional component explanation for electronic participation. Did that help?
Yes. Yes. When do you actually have to come to Abingdon?
You know what? I've been plotting my drive to Abingdon because, when I do training, I like to do it in person, because I think the stories about the Greens and Grits Mafia that I use as my examples, which are my parents, are funnier when I'm in person. Actually wants to kind of trademark and copyright that phrase, and I said, I don't think so, Mom. You can't trademark Greens and Grits Mafia. It's mine. And so when I do that, I think by your next meeting, I plan on physically being there as long as there's not snow, because I want to do it here, people, and the boring things that attorneys generally talk about.
Right, yeah, like Delegate O'Quinn just mentioned, if there's snow in June, we've got other issues.
I know, that's, as my grandmother would say, end times. These are the
right. That's right. So thank you, Ramona, for that very informative and entertaining
thank you very much.
Policy explanation. Are there any questions or comments for this discussion? Yes.
I have a question for Ramona. It would be accurate to assume that this policy is fairly common amongst other state agencies that are adopting similar policies? I mean, is this more or less a model policy that's kind of been approved by your office and now being adopted by agencies across the Commonwealth?
Funny you should say that. I was the first one to start rolling out these policies, so most of my my higher ed colleagues have bootlegged my policy. And I have 10 clients. So I would say, yes, this is the model policy as written and reviewed by Ramona. And I talked to Alan of the FOIA Council. When I started rolling out this policy, I actually had discussed a lot of these issues with him before I rolled it out. So this is the model policy as most of the educational institutions are using.
Follow-up question, Delegate Quinn.
You have a follow-up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So then, is it safe also to assume that if we need to come back at some point and make minor alterations to this policy, that's doable even if we adopt it today.
Yes, it is.
Great, thank you.
Any other
Because you know
questions?
FOIA is gonna change by next year.
Always. Yeah.
FOIA
Any other
is fluid as, you know. Yes, but
All right.
and the goal of enacting it today gives you the opportunity to use the benefit. So it's always open to change. That's why a lot of times I think make something a policy versus a component of a bylaws, like a provision, because then you're not always changing your bylaws. You're adjusting a policy to conform with whatever change in the code that may come up that impacts you.
Any other questions? So a vote is needed to approve this remote meeting policy. I'll entertain a motion now. We have a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now comes a time in our agenda for public comment. And no one signed up for public comment. I don't see anyone here to give public comment. I believe at this point, I understand there may be a motion related to a possible extension of the term of the employment agreement between the board and the executive director. I guess I'll turn to Keith for this.
Mr. Chairman, as I'm sure you're aware, Mr. Matlock's current contractor agreement is set to expire January of 2024. Mr. Matlock has expressed an interest to the executive committee that he would be agreeable to a one-year extension to that. And it's also the consensus of the executive committee members that this extension should be granted. Therefore, I move the board's executive director employment agreement with Mr. Matlock be extended 1 year to expire now on January 24th, 2025. And that the chairman be authorized to work with the Office of Attorney General to prepare and execute any documents to effectuate this extension.
All right. So we have a motion to extend Mr. Matlock's contract by 1 year to January 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. The proposed date for the next meeting, and this is proposed, is Thursday, June 8th. Again, this is just tentative. I'd also like to invite everyone at the end of the second floor landing. There is a reception we'd like to invite everyone to. And I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to Megan Healy for being here today. It's great to have you at Southwest Virginia. We look forward to the relationship that we're going to have with you with George Mason. So, yeah. Well,
exploring.
all right. Well, we look forward to that exploration there. So, with that, I'd like to wish everyone a joyous holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. If you want to come to Richmond and see myself and Ramona,
Yes.
we welcome you to Richmond in January, February.
Not in the same room.
Not in the same room.
Yes.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. What's that?
I'm gonna come visit.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, with hands wide open, I'm sure. You and Adam and everyone else here. Keith will be there, I'm sure too. So with that, I'll definitely entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
We have a lot of really great food for you right at the end of the hallway.
Prepared by great people.
Okay, leave.